Hello everyone. Good morning. As I, as I can see the people are still joining. So let's give it just another minute and then we will start. All right. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us today. I know how much packed your days can get. So I genuinely appreciate you being here. Let me start with my introduction. My name is Rakesh Ranjan and I work as a National Product Manager at Anchrom Enterprises. My focus is on analytical solution for the grain, flour and food processing industry, and the Chopin range of instrument is something I work very closely with. Now I can also want to introduce someone very important who is with us on this call today. We have Mr. Akshay Charongekar, Director Anchrom Enterprises, joining us. Mr. Akshay brings with him years of experience in the industry and has been instrumental in building Anchrom's expertise in food and grain. Here he will be with us throughout the session and will also share his thoughts towards the end. Mr. Akshay, would you like to say a quick hello to everyone?
Thank you, Rakesh, and good morning, everybody. My name is Akshay Charegaonkar. I'm the Managing Director of Anchrom Enterprises, and it is wonderful to see all of you here. And we are very happy to share with you the solutions we have for the wheat and baking and milling industries, and also to give you a look at our demo lab. So, thank you for joining. Rakesh, please carry on.
Yes, wonderful. Before we going on the presentation, we have a small poll and requesting every participant to please participate into that. Wow, wonderful. Uh, we have a great mix of people on this call today, and like the millers, bakers, researchers, academia, testing laboratories, we have a mix of audience, which makes this session really exciting. We have one another poll. Okay, good. As we have a great mix of audience today, like the millers, bakers, and researchers, manufacturers, I think that what makes this session really exciting. because what we are going to discuss today is relevant to every single one of you, just in a slightly different way. All lights get into it. Let me start with some quick questions. I would love for you to think about this honestly. When was the last time a batch went wrong and you could not quite explain why? Maybe the dough was thicker than usual. Maybe the bread volume dropped. Maybe the biscuit didn't spread the way they should. Or the crust color was off. And yet your protein was fine. Your moisture was fine. Everything on paper looked right. Has that happened to any of you? I think most of us in this room have been there. Today, I want to talk about something that sits quietly behind many of those unexplained problems, something that doesn't always show up in your standard QC sheet, but has a very real impact on what comes out of your meals, your oven, or your production line every single day. And it is called the damage starch. And whether you are milling wheat, baking bread, or manufacturing biscuits, damage starch is affecting your product right now. The only question is, do you know by how much? In the next 20 to 30 minutes, I am going to show you what damage starch is and why it behaves the way it does and how it affects each of your operations differently, because a miller's concern is not the same as the baker's and a biscuit manufacturer's problem is different again. And almost importantly, how you can measure it accurately, quickly, and consistently so you stop guessing and start controlling. We have millers here, we have people from bakeries industry, we have biscuit manufacturers, and I think by the end of this presentation, you will realize that all of you are actually dealing with different symptoms of the same problem, and that there is one very simple measurement that can bring clarity all of it. Let me start with a question, and I want each of you to think about which of these sounds familiar to you. A miller says, why does my customer complain about sticky dough even when my protein numbers looks perfectly fine? A baker says, why does my bread volume vary from batch to batch even when I am using the same flour? And a biscuit manufacturer says, why do my biscuits spread unevenly or come out too pale? Three different people, three different problems, but the answer very often is the same thing, the damage starts. And the bigger issue, most of you are not measuring it fast enough or not measuring. That's what we are here to change today. Now, here is the number that stopped me when I first saw it. 96% of bakers, nearly all of them, says they still face quietly problems even when the floor they received meet all specification of your certificate of analysis. Think about that. COA says everything is fine, your protein check, falling number check, absorption check, and yet problems still happen. And the cost of this? Non-conforming product rejections have been reported up to $100,000 per week. So many operations. And that is not a small number. That is a serious business problem. And it is happening because current specifications are incomplete. Let me show you why. Do we need a better specification? So, what the current specification missing from today's specification? Current aspects are built around commonly accepted parameters like your protein, falling number, absorption number, Dove extent, and all these are all important. Nobody says they are not, but here is the problem. These parameters are almost entirely focused on protein, which makes up roughly 10 to 13% of the flour. What about the other 70%, that is a starch? The single largest component of flour. And it is completely absent from your most specification sheet. And starch is not a passive ingredient. The condition of starch, specifically how much of it is damaged, directly determines how the flour will behave in your process. We need better specs, and that means you need to start measuring damaged starch. These slides put it all in perspective. When we look at the main quality driven for to the floor, starch sit right at the center of it. Protein gets most of attention, and rightly so, it is important. But damage starts connect to water absorption, dub behavior, fermentation, crust color, product volume, and the shelf life. For a miller, it determines what kind of flour comes off the rolls. For a baker's, it determines how the dough behave in the mixer and the oven. For a biscuit manufacturer, it determines a spread texture and the color. It is not one parameter among many. It is a central quality driver that links all of you together. So let's get clear on what the damage starch actually is. In simple terms, when wheat is milled, the rollers physically break open some of the starch granules. These broken granules are what we call damaged starch. It is not a defect. Some damage is natural and even desirable, but the amount of damage matters enormously. The degree of starch damage is in most wheat flours typically sits between 4 to 10% only. The hard wheat flour tends to have more damage because of the grinding intensity needs to be processed them. And the whole wheat flour naturally carries a higher baseline of damaged starch simply because the milling process is more intensive when the bran layers are included. So different floors starts from the different places, which is exactly why a one size fits all specification doesn't work. Now let's look at why damage starts behave the way it does. And this is important for all three audience in the room. Damaged starch absorbs significantly more water than the intact starch, up to 2 to 3 times more. That sounds like a good thing. More absorption means more yield, right? But here is the catch. That water doesn't stay locked in during the mixing. Damage starch granules release water back into the dough. If there's some more water being released than the protein can hold, it separates and you get the sticky dough. And it doesn't stop there. Damage starch also increases sugar production during the fermentation, which affects gas production, volume, and ultimately the color of your crust or biscuit surface. Roll pressure, roll wear, roll paralyzation, these are the things Miller's controls, but the consequences land on the bakers and biscuit manufacturers' production floor. The water absorption capacity of damaged starch have some problems as well as some advantages. If the higher absorption potential increases productivity, more means the more products of the same quantity of the flour. And if there is more water than the required of the protein flour can handle, it makes the dough sticky, and that is the actual problem. So what will be the bonus? The if everything's go well during the production, the water absorbed by the damaged starch will be released very slowly, improving the freshness on the shelf life of the product. That is the actual bonus of millers as well as the bakers. The damaged starch also leads to higher sugar production. This has impact on the volume as well as the colors. Now let's get specific because the damaged starch doesn't affect everyone the same way. For the bakers, the impact shows up in the crust color first. Too much damaged starch and your crust goes too dark. Too little, it's pale or underdeveloped. Neither is acceptable to your customer. Shelf life is another big one. Excessive starch damage accelerates sterling. Your bread goes firm faster. But here is the interesting flip side. When the starch damage is in the right range, the water it absorbed gets released slowly during the baking and the storage, which actually extend the freshness. And for those of you working with a long fermentation process, sourdough, polish, sponge, and the dough. Damaged starch is not your enemy. It's actually the fuel. It feeds the yeast, support gas production, and develops flavor. The key word in all of this is the balance. And for the millers, the business case is very direct. If you are producing white flour, your bakery customers has a water absorption space. If your damaged starch is inconsistent batch to batch, that aspects become unreliable and you get a phone call that you don't want to receive. If you are milling whole wheat, the challenge is even more complex. The SDmatic is capable of measuring both refined as well as whole wheat flour. So you get a reliable data regardless of what you are producing. And there an efficiency angle here also. When millers use the damage starch data to optimize roll settings, you are not just improving the quality, you are reducing unnecessary energy consumption and improving the meal profitability. One number, multiple benefits. So, what's the solution? I would like to introduce you to the Chopin SDmatic, the instrument that gives you that number quickly, reliably, and without complexity. Chopin Technology is a French company which decades of expertise in serial science instrumentation, and the SDmatic is the dedicated solution for damage stars measurement. At Anchrom Enterprises, we are proud to present Chopin in the India and bring this technology to millers, bakers, and food manufacturers across the country. Here, what makes the SDmatic stands out? SDmatic is fully automated and completely enzyme free. No complex reagent, no specialist training required. You put in just 1 gram of flour and under in 10 minutes you have your result. The method is based on the amphoteric principle developed by Metcalfe and Giles. In simple terms, iodine in the solution binds to damaged stars. The more damaged stars present, the more iodine get consumed. The instrument measures that reduction in iodine ions and convert it into the precise damaged stars reading. It is elegant in its simplicity and extremely reliable in the practices. Before we go further, I would like to directly move to the our lab to show you how actually the Chopin SDmatic works in action. Now I'm switching my camera to our lab team so that he can show you the live demo of our instrument.
Hello. So, a very good morning to our attendees. So, are you all able to see the SDmatic? Rakesh sir, are you able to see the instrument?
Yes, I think I need to stop first.
All
Then it
right.
will, yes, now it's better.
Okay. So, dear attendees, now are you able to see the instrument? All right. So, this is how the instrument looks like. This SDmatic 2 is a very compact instrument used for determining the damage starch content in different floor samples. So, here are the three main ingredients that are required for testing the damaged starch from your sample. So it requires potassium iodide, it requires this sodium thiosulfate, just zero point 0.1 normal concentration is enough for your analysis. Next, it uses this citric acid. Okay. All these components need to be diluted into the water. So we use a good grade of water so that we get good results. All these mixtures are to be mixed here into this mixing bowl. Okay. Now this mixing bowl is being stored here so that it attains a stable temperature wherein all these components could be dissolved in the solution and the damaged starch can be analyzed from your samples. So when you mix up all these components here in a certain concentration, so here into the mixing bowl, every time you start a test, so the operation of this instrument is very easy. I'll show you how to run a test here. So the very first thing that you need to do here is click on run a test. When you run a test, The instrument will tell you what all things you got to get ready before running your test. So it tells you to keep the 3 grams of potassium iodide to be weighed and added to the mixing bowl. Next, you need to weigh 1.5 grams of citric acid. To this, you need to add 120 ml of water and then 2 drops of sodium thiosulfate, zero point 0.1 normal sodium thiosulfate. After adding all these things into the mixing bowl, you go a step further and raise the reaction arm here. Once you raise the reaction arm, you need to unclamp this electrode over here. Okay, so this electrode is nothing but the integral part of the SDmatic 2. So this SDmatic 2 measures the amount of damaged starch through this electrode by the iodine that is being produced and consumed during the course of analysis. Okay, so once all these things are being ready, you need to keep the reaction bowl over here with all the ingredients inside, and then you need to lower the reaction bowl. Once you do that, you go a step ahead and click on this check over here. Then you need to introduce your flour here. Accurately, you need to weigh up around 1 gram of your flour, and that should be done using this spatula. This spatula is a special sample handling module that is required here in the SDmatic 2. So you got to keep in your head that your sample needs to be there between these two punctures. Okay, accurately, just 1 gram of your floor sample needs to be introduced there. Once you have weighed your sample, you need to introduce the floor here through this vent over here. Okay, and once you've introduced the floor into this vent over here, you need to start the test. So, for that particular floor, you define the amount of moisture, you define the amount of protein, and the base hydration. Okay. Once you've defined all these three parameters, you can run a test. After running the test, within just 10 minutes, you would get results for that particular sample. Now, I would show you a test result for a sample that was being analyzed. So this interface, as you are able to see, it is a touch screen module that comes in. So very easy to handle. So after completing your test, these are the different test parameters that you get results for. Okay. So graphically, it also shows you how the iodine was generated, for what period of time it was reacted, the fluor was introduced, and after introduction of the fluor, how fast the iodine was consumed. That is being seen here. So all these things you get to see here into the SDmatic 2. Over to you, Rakesh sir.
Thank you, Gaurav. All right. As you can see, it's really is an straightforward as it looks. No complicated setup, no lengthy process. Just a minute. Yes, no complicated setup, no lengthy procedure, 1 gram of flour, and a few steps and few minutes. You have a actionable data. Uh, Now you can might be wondering, are there other ways to measure the damage starch? Of course, there are. These are the enzymatic methods have been used for the years. But here is the difference. In enzymatic methods are slower, requires the more reagent, more preparation time, more technical skill to run consistently. For a quality lab that's already busy, that is really burden. And the solution is definitely a smart automated instrument like the SDmatic, which not only eliminates all of that, It doesn't require any enzyme, no complexity, and importantly, the results are strongly correlated with the enzymatic method. So you are not giving up accuracy. You can even set up the custom calibration if you need to match a specific reference method your customer or buyer requires. And it is fully complies with the international standards like the ISO 17715 ICC 172 and AACC 76.33.0. This slides really summarize the full impact of damage stars and why the estimatic matters. The damage stars directly influences water intake, dove stickiness, braid volume, braid colors, and product dimensions. Every single of these affects your end product quality and your customer satisfaction. And here is the line I want you all to remember that it is the on the slide. Star damage level is 100% the result of the Miller choice. Roll gap, roll speed, roll wear, wheat variety, all the Miller's decision, which means the star damage is a controllable parameter, not a mystery, not a bad luck. Some things you can measure, manage, and communicate to your customer. So let me bring this home. Millers and bakers and the biscuit manufacturers often end up with a difficult conversation when the quality problems occurs because you are looking at the different numbers and speaking different languages. The miller points to the COA, the bakers point to the production problem. Nobody can agree on where the issue started. The SDmatics gives the everyone one shared number, one test, one specification, and suddenly that conversation becomes much easier and much more productive. The key principle for damage starch is very simple. Not too much, not too little. There is an optimum and it different for bread manufacturer, for whole wheat, for the biscuits, and the estimatics helps you find it and stay there. I would love to follow this up with a live demo or have a conversation about what the right damage stars targets look like for your specific products. And at this point, I would like to hand over to our director, Mr. Akshay Charangekar, for his closing thoughts. Akshay sir, over to you. Hello. Okay, might be he will be busy somewhere. Not issue. Apart from the estimatic, the Anchrom has a wide range of instrumentation to cater the from your grains to a finished products. We have NIR to measure the grain quality. We have different rheological estimation instruments like the Alveolab for the automated dub rheology analyzer. We have Mixolab, the universal floor and the dub analyzer. We have Rio F4 for determination of the gas production in your dub. We have Estimatic, of course. We have the CD mill and the lab mill to check the floor quality. Thank you all for the actively participating and joining us today. Yeah, Akshay sir, would you like to say something?
Yes, thank you all very much again. And as I look at the list of attendees, we have more than 65 professionals from the wheat milling and processing industry. We will be at Wheat Products Promotion Council meeting in Varanasi on 9 and 10 July. We have a stall there. We will have a couple of these instruments on display there. So if you are going to attend, we would love to meet you there. Thank you all very much. We have these instruments, as I said, in our lab. If you would like to see how it works, you are most welcome to get in touch with us. We will be happy to run some samples and so on. Because the core of Anchrom is that we are a technologist, not a trader. We would like to be your technical partner and help to save you money and speed up your operations. If we can save your money and speed up your operations, then we have done our job. That's what these instruments are for. So whether you're a wheat miller where you have to decide the parameters of your um, of your roller mill, or if you are a wheat miller going to supply wheat flour to these blue chip customers like, let's say, Britannia and the large companies. These instruments are what supply a common language for the miller and the baker to speak together so that everybody is happy. The miller gets exactly the parameters they want on their floor, and the baker is happy because none of the batches go back. So, therefore, we would like to play a role in helping you in your operations. So, with that, I close what I had to say. Thank you all very much for attending, and back to you, Rakesh.
Thank you, sir. We have a few questions from the audience, and I would like to answer all of. And before question answer, we have a small poll. Request all to please participate. Okay, great answers.
So while the poll is ongoing, I just want to also tell you that we try to have the entire wheat value chain. So we have a NIR also that the same manufacturer Chopin KPM makes. The NIR has excellent calibrations for whole wheat, white, I mean to say maida, for atta, where you can get the percentage of protein, fat, moisture instantaneously within less than a minute. So you can see on the screen now, to the left of our SDmatic, we have our NIR. So if you would like to see that in action also, we have, as I said, excellent calibrations for all types of wheat, wheat mids, for semolina, for everything. So we wanted to show that demo as well, but since we are very tightly focused and we respect your time, we didn't show a full demo. But that NIR is also installed in our lab, and it's actually called XTF, which means that it is the specialized. The F stands for floor. So that also is something that may be of interest to you as a miller or a baker, because all of this goes together from the same manufacturer. Okay, thank you. Rakesh, there are many questions coming in, I
Yeah,
believe.
yes, sir. And there is a good many of our audience wants to upgrade their testing facility. Okay, now moving to our question answer section. Yes, Mohammed Jamil asked how it will be applicable in my organization in MOU IUs. Okay, currently we don't have any MOU for the IUs, but we love to work with the Ministry of IUs. For that, you can contact us, and if you, I have your number. As you registered here, so I will contact you, and will definitely work with you how to get in MOU with the IUS department. Next, Lina asked, can SDmatic 2 be used to check the starch damage of whole wheat flour? Yes, we have a protocol where the atta that is the whole wheat flour is called, can be measured in SDmatic, and the result really is very much accurate as the result with the enzymatic method. One of asked the Nima asked for the cost. So for the commercial, we will talk separately. Mohammad Jamil again asked, especially in Unani formulation. Definitely, we will think about it. Lina asked, do you have data for correlation of starch damage estimated by the SDmatic 2 versus the conventional enzyme methods? Yes, we have the data correlation, and I would like to says that many of Indian companies using our estimatics to correlate the damage starch with enzymatic methods, and they are happily they have very good data where they shows the enzymatic result and estimatic results are accurately same. Does the brand interferes in the results? Not exactly. We have a different calibration protocols to eliminate these. I think so all of questions are answered, and you will get also the reply on the mail what the questions asked. Now over to marketing team.
Thank you, sir. Any more questions? You can raise hand and we can have those questions answered.
Yeah. One is what is the difference between enzymatic method and these instruments? Ajit sir, both are based on amphoteric methods, and the difference is that enzymatic methods requires a lots of steps and the chemicals and reagents, as well as it requires the enzyme. The enzymatic methods require at least 50 to 60 minutes of run, whereas the our instruments requires only 10 minutes of run, and the results are same. Enzymatic methods are totally manual, so the result will vary from person to person. And next, Vijay Rana sir ask, is a protein test result for the same sample required to rule out damaged starch? No, because protein result is totally different what the damaged starch have. Any more questions? Thank you so much. Hello. Okay, thank you all for actively participating and joining us in the session. Thank you all.
Thank you everyone for attending this session. As there are no more questions, we will just end this session. And once the session gets end, there is a short survey form. I request everyone to just fill the forms. Thank you.